Oh, hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome in right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Monday to break down everything that we saw in Week 11. Of course, get you ready for those Monday night miracles for tonight's game, and then getting you ready for all things Week 12. Another week closer, Adam, to the fantasy football playoffs. Another week closer to the championship. What a weird week. How you doing? How's it going? Low scoring. We were talking about this just before the show started. I was looking through some of my teams, some of my final scores, and I was like, didn't feel great about some of them. But how you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, doing well, and I got to give you credit. Unlike your quarterback, you did not make a mistake in the opening minute.
Woohoo! Look at us. Get out of here. Is this how it's going to be today? Really?
Yes,
I can't mourn.
Just...
What did I tell you? But really, what did we talk about with Sam Darnold? You put any kind of pressure on him. It's fine. Whatever.
It's all right. It's one game. It was on the road. You'll face them again. Don't worry.
That's the only time we're talking about them. No,
Okay.
I'm kidding. At least we got fantasy points from Kenneth Walker. Hello.
That is true.
JSN, come on. Yeah. Did you feel that? A low scoring week a little bit?
Yeah, there were some massive performances that I know we'll get to, but across the board, I do feel it was a lower scoring week, just looking at the typical numbers that we get in fantasy. And we had some real low scoring games. I mean, last night, Eagles, Lions, we expected more, 16-9. You had the Chargers offense no-show, so you got nothing out of all of them.
Where did they go? They didn't even get on the plane.
I mean, Bears, Vikings, 19-17, Dolphins, Commanders, 16-13. So, yeah, and when Bryce Young is the guy that goes off in a given week, and the worst part is, you know this, I have him in a super flex league, right?
Yeah.
I did not play him this week.
No, who'd you play ahead of him?
Fields and Winston.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it cost me a W. If I would have played Young
did.
over Winston, I would have won. So
He said,
yeah.
well, that's why he went off. You should have told everyone that you were benching him.
Bryce Young going into yesterday has thrown for less than 200 yards in every game except one. And the one game he threw for more than 200 was against the Cowboys. So he had faced Atlanta earlier this year and didn't do much. So he got banged up twice in the game. He left with his ankle injury. He took some big hits, and he throws for 448. So, yeah, it was one of those weeks.
You should have told everyone. I thought we had that deal. You just have to tell us when I tell you when I'm benching someone so they can go off. It's like the rage drop with Travion Henderson in the 10 team.
I didn't think Bryce Young was eligible for that category.
31.82 fantasy points from Bryce Young. That's insane. We're never going to get that. And Tetairoa McMillan, by the way. Ted had a great game. That was the last thing that I expected. If you would have told me who's going to be one of the highest scoring quarterbacks with his wide receiver one, I would have probably looked past I would have said every single team besides the Carolina Panthers. Tetairoa McMillan had 8 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's off 12 targets, 33 fantasy points. He had more fantasy points than Bryce Young.
Yeah, McMillan is so do you view him as a disappointment this year?
Yes.
Because of where he was drafted, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because so he hasn't had many games like this, obviously. With that performance, though, he is now 18th in PPR in points per game.
It doesn't feel like it, though.
Well,
I think that's the part of it. That's more disappointing. That it's.
I think it's because this is only the second time in a game he scored this year. Because he had 2 touchdowns against Dallas in week 6. He hasn't scored a touchdown in any other game. He is getting targets every week. The floor has been high. Like his worst game this year has been 6.3, and he's hit double digits most weeks. But we're talking like 11 and 13 and 10. So, yeah, I did draft him probably in round 4 to 5 of my leagues. I have him in a few. So he just hasn't had the ceiling game like yesterday. That's the disappointment. It's only his second 100-yard game this year. He did have a game of 99 yards. He's been solid, but the expectations probably have been higher. But he has clearly been taken down by his quarterback play.
Oh, for sure. 1,000%. Because look at what he can do. Look at what he could give you with decent quarterback play week in and week out. And I think that's the more, I think it's been disappointing, but probably also a little bit more than others because I do have him in a few more places. Like he was one that I really liked going into this season. And so I made sure to get him on a lot more of my rosters than other players. But it's been like you said, the floor is good, but it's been, in 10 points, then you get 13, 17, and you're like, okay, here we go. Back down to 6, 16 points the next week, 8 the next week. So it's really been up and down. It's been up and down play. So that's sometimes why, the same way we talked about Kyler Murray last season, where it's like, oh, he finishes a QB 12. You're like, yeah, but if you played him and you had him in fantasy, it felt a little bit different. But that's the other part about Tetairoa McMillan is obviously eight receptions for 130 yards, 33 fantasy points. That's what he could give you, like you just said, with good or decent quarterback play. So it was fun to watch at least. But yeah, it wasn't on my bingo card for 30 plus fantasy outings from Bryce Young and Tetairoa McMillan. What a time to be alive.
Yeah,
Love fantasy.
And a huge win for the Panthers. They're only a half game out of first place.
I didn't think they were going to do that to the Falcons. It's just, I think he's now with Tetairoa McMillan, because I haven't really been putting them there in my ranks, but he's just a firm, solid wide receiver 2 for me the rest of the way, it looks like. But we've had those games all season, Adam. I mean, who is the most dominant team in the NFL right now? Like, if I had to ask you point blank, who is a dominating team that absolutely they're going to the playoffs, absolutely they're going to the Super Bowl, I don't think we could say anyone.
Yeah, I see Tim getting ready to type New England, but I'm not going to go that far yet. I think they're good, but they've taken advantage of a very favorable schedule, and credit to them. But I don't see any dominant team in the NFL at all, not one. I mean, Philadelphia, obviously their defense is good and they added some pieces, but that offense still has issues. They just find ways to win. It's never pretty, but they get the job done. But they can be beaten. I think a lot of people are going to say the Rams now, and I think they're good, but that offense really didn't do anything in that game. I mean, they think about it. Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions, and they had to sweat to win this game by 2 points.
Yep.
So you could make a case for them. I think I did see they're now the Super Bowl favorites and odds, but really there is no dominant team in the NFL. We probably would have said Kansas City a few weeks ago, and now they are going to have to fight to get into the playoffs. They will. I don't think the NFL can have a postseason
they can't do
without
that.
them.
They were trying to get in that game yesterday, too.
But they have their work cut out because all the teams ahead of them beat them head to head.
Yep. No, it's going to be a push for them. I can't believe we're sitting here, like I said, going into week 12, and we don't have a team that we're just like, every single week, it's just domination. Every time we say, play all the fantasy players that you can, we just know that they're locked and loaded, because we just don't get that. I don't know if now, and you're going to say no, but do we have to start taking the Broncos seriously now? Is this just how they're going to win and continue to win all season? Because again, you just said it. I thought Kansas City was going to go in and win this game, especially with them coming off a bye. What was Andy Reid's? I mean, Andy Reid was really good coming off a bye, and now I think in his career this was his 5th loss coming off that break. So I'm looking at this, and yes, it was another fourth quarter comeback for the Denver Broncos. It was Lutz. It was the 10-play, 58-yard drive. They won 22-19 against Kansas City. And now the Chiefs, like you said, 5-5, and the 10th straight AFC West championship looks like it's in the rearview mirror. It looks like it's not feasible for that team. The Broncos defense, though, I think, how many times do we hear defense wins championships? And so to me, when I look at this team, they might not be as good as we think on offense. And we've seen it before where it takes them fourth quarter comebacks, but man, that defense is good. So I don't know if this changed your mind at all to where we have to say, all right, the Broncos are just going to continue to win this way, but they're winning. But I wouldn't categorize them as dominant yet. But I think if they get a few things fixed on offense, we would be talking way differently about how this team has been playing.
Yeah, I give them credit for yesterday. I thought Nick's actually played well. He made some throws in key spots, but they've been winning a lot of close games against some inferior opponents, and it's just one of those years where I just don't see there's no real good team at all. So I think anyone could be knocked off. So I'm not convinced that they're going to make a deep postseason run still. Again, it was a good win. Give them credit. But I think there's still some issues on the offensive side. RJ Harvey, we knew this was going to happen. Ugh. The good thing is he played a large amount of the snaps, and it was a difficult matchup. You saw McLaughlin get a couple goal line carries and convert. He wasn't impressive. I think you have to be patient with Harvey. They're on bye next week. I know they have, I think it's the Commanders and Raiders coming up. So he should do well in those matchups, especially in the passing game. Caught 3 passes for 20 yards. So you feel good if you have him. I don't know why they asked him to throw a pass across his body to Bo Nix. That was a stupid play, but hey.
Because why not?
Those things happen. And Troy Franklin, once again, tied for the team lead in targets and had the better numbers than Sutton. But yeah, look, they're 6-0 at home. They've won a lot of close games, but I'm not convinced that they're coming out of the AFC.
Troy Franklin, 4 receptions, 84 yards, 12.4 fantasy points in this one. Cortland Sutton had, I believe, 9.9. That's kind of what we got this weekend too, Adam. I was just looking through and I'm just like, okay, all these players that we usually say, oh, okay, we're good for 15 plus. We weren't getting them, but yeah, the Denver Broncos, they might be one, and we're going to continue to talk about them. But entering this bye week, and again, we've got 4 teams on a bye, so it's the Broncos, the Chargers started early, Adam.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're doing, what's going on.
I think they thought it was week 11.
Yeah, maybe they said, you know what, we're already mentally in Cancun. I don't know where players go for their bye weeks, but that's where they were. They didn't even show up. And then the 2 teams that for the international game, it's Miami Dolphins and the Washington Commanders on their bye this week. But the last stat I'll say about the Broncos is that entering their bye this week, they have 49 sacks on the season. That's the most in the league, and they are on pace to challenge that Chicago Bears record. They had 72 sacks in 84. I need my glasses today, Adam. I can't really see very well. They had 72 sacks in 1984, so they are on pace to potentially beat that. And that's the one thing, is that their defense has just been so dominant and good. So that's what we can look at there. You know who was good though? Josh Allen. If you started Josh Allen, I think you felt fine. You're like, oh, I'm cruising to a fantasy win this weekend. That was a crazy back and forth game. Josh Allen, 42.68 fantasy points. And if you look through the stats, we'll talk about Tampa Bay too, but that was actually a really fun game to watch. Very back and forth. Won that one 44-32. But Josh Allen, after a pretty rough start, was able to get things going. You saw all the stats that he had: 19 of 30 for 317 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, the 2 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns. What are we doing? Come on, 40 fantasy points. We love to see it.
And he started the game playing awful.
Yeah,
he had a bad interception, couple interceptions, and then I was also surprised they kind of went away from Cook. Like, I thought this would be a big James Cook game because they've been struggling, and we've seen when they go away from James Cook, things turn bad. But they just put the ball in Allen's hands, even with the issues at receiver, Keon Coleman being inactive, Josh Palmer. People thought he could play a big role. Didn't happen. Khalil Shakir in a game where Josh Allen throws for 317. How many yards did Shakir have? How many catches? It had to be good, right? No,
Wrong.
1 catch, -3 yards. I don't have Shakir, so that's not
nice.
sour grapes, but I was just noting that. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
It was Shavers. Tyrell Shavers, who I'm sure everyone started this week.
Oh, yeah, he was a must start. If you didn't see that he was way high in the rankings this week, you need to check that out at fantasylife.com.
No, don't. Don't look.
But the problem is, who are you counting on in this offense? Outside of Cook and Allen, you just can't. I mean, Shakir most weeks, this just happened to be one of those weeks where he didn't get it done. You know, Dalton Kincaid was out. There's no replacement for him. Dawson Knox, 1 catch for 23 yards. So, yeah, but Allen, if you went against him, you're probably lost this week. We say that a lot, but this is one of those weeks where I think 6 touchdowns is going to be very difficult to overcome.
Yeah, it's a tough start. I was thankfully I didn't have to face him, I think, anywhere. But this is, like you said, this is another team where if you just look down the box score and you look at the receivers, you had 10 different players catch a pass from Josh Allen on Sunday. And again, we talk about this all the time, but that's just like with Green Bay, that's just how it's going to go. There's sure Khalil Shakir, some days, most days we can say, all right, if you're in a desperate, flex position right now, you can start Khalil Shakir. It's not necessarily like you feel good about it every single time, but when 10 different receivers are catching a pass from Josh Allen, you just have to know that it's going to be volatile. It's James Cook. He had 16 carries, 48 yards. Again, Josh Allen got things done on the ground as well, 6 carries for 40 yards. But in this moment for the Bills, it's really Josh Allen, James Cook is who you feel comfortable about. Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch, an inactive in this game, because if you didn't read about it, he missed a Friday practice, which this is not the first time that this has happened, Adam. So I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know if that trickles into week 12. I got some questions.
Doesn't
about
matter
that.
who the hell is playing Keon Coleman in fantasy.
I don't
Come
know.
on.
No, it's more about should, Khalil Shakir, does that make him go up the ranks? And I'm like, I don't think
Well, it
so. I'm
didn't
gonna
this
keep
week.
him. I'm gonna keep him in the same spot. Keon Coleman, go to practice on
Well, he
Fridays.
missed a meeting. That was what it was this
Well,
time.
maybe
It
he
was
was
a team
listening to
meeting.
us, when I say it's time to
Yeah,
pack up and go.
he probably,
Oh
he's like, oh, it's
no.
Friday. She said go home, and he took it
He's
literally.
like, you know
Look what you're
what?
doing.
Kendall and Adam told me to leave. I'm looping you into this because you don't tell him
I
to stay at
I didn't
work.
say
So
anything. We have the
he probably
audio, the
said,
video. It was you.
"Oh, that's tough." You know what, Keon Coleman? Now I'm gonna apologize. Don't listen to me on Fridays. You need to stay and go to those practices. But he should be back, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter. You're not starting him, but should be back next week. We'll see. Tampa Bay though, Sean Tucker. Whoa. I mean, if Bucky Irving is back next week, and obviously we have to throw all the conversations that we're about to have out the window a little bit, but Sean Tucker, 19 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had Rachaad White behind him, 10 carries, 51 yards, no touchdowns, but that was a huge breakout game for Sean Tucker. They unleashed him.
Yeah, I started him in 2 leagues.
Yeah.
I think we had the discussion during the week, but you could see last week they were starting to go in his direction. The carries were 10-9 last week, but they fell behind. And when they fall behind, we know how good Rachaad White is in the passing game. We know he's not great between the tackles. So I thought this could be a game. I did not expect this. But we saw last year when Tucker had an opportunity in one game, he went off. And the Bills' run defense is atrocious. So all those factors led to me putting him in the lineup. Also, not great options at running back in those
I was
leagues, too,
going to
to
say,
be fair.
which league was it? I was like,
One of
tell
them
me
was
your
the
others.
GST, which all of a sudden, if
Hey,
I
I was
have
going to say,
if I have Tucker or Bucky Irvin, and I also have Emmanuel Wilson in that league, so maybe all of a sudden,
well, and you're
this
going
is
to win
why
this week.
this is why you don't give up ever.
You
Like
don't
you
give
just
up.
plug away,
Mhm.
and like I said, this year across the leagues, I'm not seeing any dominant teams. I know there's probably some
No.
leagues with a dominant team or two, but across many leagues I play in, there are very few dominant teams this year. It's a lot of parity, a lot of teams hovering around 500. So just try and fight your way in the playoffs. But yeah, Tucker, look, Bucky Irving, I don't know if he's going to be back next week. I know he returned to practice, but I think they're going to ease him in. Although they need these wins now with
I was gonna
Carolina
say,
behind them. And they do have a tough matchup. They're Sunday night against the Rams, right? That's
yeah,
not
that's going to be a great
that's
game.
not a game. That's not going to be an easy game. So they could fall to 6-5. But also, when Bucky Irvin returns, don't you think at this point they go, all right, he's coming off an injury. We'll just ease him back in. Like there's a chance that it is a split or a committee the first week or two back for Bucky Irving.
Yeah, after what they just saw from Sean Tucker too, and what they've been getting from Rachaad White, why would they risk re-injury at that point? Because they're sitting at 6-4 right now. That's what we're looking at with Tampa Bay. So they're still technically at the top of the NFC South, but like you said, the Carolina Panthers, for what it's worth, is sitting there at 6-5. You don't necessarily have to worry about the Falcons. You don't have to worry about the Saints, but I'm with you. And this is what we're gonna have to grapple with though, Adam, is going back and forth on the conversation that you and I always have is that, okay, if the player and the coaches believe that they're healthy enough to get back out there, are they good enough to get into our starting lineups? And I think that's going to be the conversation that people have to sit with this week. If they tell us that Bucky Irving's going to go, I mean, if I had Bucky, I'd probably be starting him because I might not have, great options that I picked up off the waiver wire. But the other
Yeah,
side
I
of
think
it
that's
is like,
that's a
hey,
discussion going forward,
yeah.
depending on like what the practice reports are.
Mhm.
But it is tricky because you get a game like Sean Tucker, and you're like, oh, I want to play him next week, and damn, that game is Sunday night too. So
Mhm.
I hope they let us know early whether he plays or not. I will say this too: Tampa 2 times in the last 3 weeks plays Carolina.
I like that.
Yeah, so that last game of the season could be for the division, and that's crazy though. Carolina's got a minus 42-point differential. It's nice to be in the NFC South.
Maybe you say to yourself, you know what, Bucky, you can take one more week because I'll take you in the fantasy playoffs. Bucky Irving going into the fantasy playoffs with that schedule. That's kind of nice. I don't know. Hopefully
Yeah,
they tell us, like you said. Hopefully we get information early in the week but I think we're just going to see him continue to practice. That's going to be the thing. I don't know what would change there. So he's
I
going to
think
continue to log those full practices.
it seems like the concern is whether how much contact he can take with that shoulder.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting to say the least. But shout out to Sean Tucker. We're gonna keep talking about him later in the show. 34 fantasy points. So the leaders this week: Josh Allen at the top, Christian McCaffrey, of course, because we didn't draft him, so why not have the best season of his career at 35 fantasy points? And then Sean Tucker over there, 34 fantasy points for at least the top three that I see on ESPN scoring. We're gonna continue on because you know what day it is. It's an overreaction Monday. The Chargers are not serious people. They took their bye a week early, so now we don't get them again this weekend. But what is going on over there? Caleb Williams as well is one I want to talk about. Can they keep winning this way? We're going to break it down here coming up next. Oh, great song. Great vibes, Adam.
It's good vibes Swift, for you?
Yeah, it's a good song. No,
I'm saying it's a good day for you. You're in a good mood.
I'm always in a good mood, aren't I?
Not really.
Are you crazy? Yeah. What are you trying to do right now?
When the Mariners lost, you weren't in a good mood.
Well, let me tell you. Yeah. Hey, you see Naylor though?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Or I guess they re-signed him. 5 years.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. I love it. So I'm happy with the Mariners right now. And the Seahawks for what it's worth. So yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's a good song.
I just thought Sam Darnold might have ruined your mood. That's all.
No, well, what did I say last week? I kind of expected it. If you put pressure on Sam Darnold, good things don't usually happen. And for what it's worth, too, they shouldn't have been in that game as much for those 4 interceptions that he was throwing and everything else. That defense looked really good, and we've been saying that all season long. And the Rams secondary, they dominated without its star as well. But it was a shaky day for Stafford and Adams. You got the 1 touchdown, but that was
one touchdown, 1 catch. Oh my goodness,
it was crazy. I was shocked that they were even in this game, to be totally honest with you. And of course, Matthew Stafford did, he didn't put up his best numbers, but he threw 2 touchdowns, finished 15 of 128 or 15 of 28 from 130. So I was happy with it. I knew they weren't going to make that kick either. Please.
The Seahawks ran 79 plays. The Rams had 50.
Yeah.
So the Rams did not have the ball. So when you look at the numbers, I mean, you did have Kyren Williams have a good game. Look, can they stop Blake Corum? I mean, they gave him 3 straight carries at the goal line, and he was stopped.
Yeah.
And Kyren Williams played way better than him. So I understand they might want to scale back the workload for Kyren Williams, but in critical spots, he needs to be the guy, not Blake Corum.
1,000%. Puka Nacua, I mean, 14.3 fantasy points. You'll take it. It's not necessarily amazing.
He's kind of fallen back, though, since coming back from injury. He was like automatic big games. He has not had 100 yards since week 4. Again, he's been good, but he's behind JSN now.
Yes.
Right? If that was a discussion, I think JSN's ahead of him. JSN had a yardage prop. I didn't see what it closed at. I think I was looking at it, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday, of 100.5, and he went over it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just
automatic at this point. It's
105 yards, 9 catches, 12 targets. It's just like every single week with him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And so he got injured. Puka Nacua got injured week 7. He didn't play. He really got injured week 6. Then they had their bye in week 8. Since then, week 9, 22. You'll take 22 fantasy points every day. 17.4, 14.3. But the yardage, like you said, 95, 64, 75. So, and their schedule, they play Detroit week 15, Seahawks again in week 16. That'll be a great game. That'll probably have a lot of implications in that game as well.
Yeah.
And then at Atlanta, they're at Seattle week 16 as well, and then at Atlanta week 17.
I think matchups don't matter for him, but if you're looking for a ceiling game, you're probably not going to get it against Seattle. So again, he's been fine, but look at the way he started this season. You were getting Christian McCaffrey-esque performances.
36, 24,
we're not getting
22,
it right now.
27, 23. Jeez.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And we really haven't seen it. Again, it's been fine. You're not complaining if you have him. But as far as comparing him to these upper tier receivers, he's taken a little bit of a step back.
You know who we are complaining about? The Chargers. Did you like my reference? They're not serious people. That's from Succession. You remember that?
I don't remember that line, but I do like Succession a lot.
I love to say that. I love to say that line.
Well, you've been rewatching it.
I have been. Yeah, I'm on a Succession kick right now. Rough, I don't even think is a nice way to put it. Didn't show up. They're on their bye. Whatever else you want to say. 35-6, they lost to Jacksonville in this game. I don't, and Jacksonville is a whole different story that we're going to talk about here. But I know that we've talked before about both of their starting offensive tackles being out for the season, and that's going to hurt you no matter what. I mean, Slater's been sidelined since the preseason, right? We haven't even seen him. So we know at some point that that is going to hurt you. And it just felt like it was this one. I mean, Herbert was pressured on 11 of 23 dropbacks. That's 48%, the second highest this season for him. And you got nothing out of any fantasy playmakers. I don't even know if any of them went over 10 fantasy points this
No,
weekend.
the closest was Keenan Allen with 9.3 in
Horrible.
PPR. That's it.
Horrible. It was, you were so disappointed. Vidal, we'll have to wait and see what his injury is and what that looks like. But he went down in this one, only got you 3.2 fantasy points because, again, he got injured. And there was a lot of running back injuries that we're going to talk about here. But yeah, just not a great day overall. Every single player did not get you any fantasy points in this one.
Yeah, another 0 for Quentin Johnston, which he's done
Not
now
good.
a couple of times. But as you alluded to, no one in this game did anything. So it was one of those performances where we've seen this from the Chargers before, especially on the road. Now they have a bye week, and you just have to hope that they can figure things out because, yeah, Herbert is going to take a beating. I was
Oh,
surprised
yeah.
that he was only sacked twice. It felt more, but you mentioned the pressure that he was under constantly. So they'll have a bye week to kind of figure this out and also see if Omarion Hampton will be ready to return after the bye, which is, again, not a guarantee.
No, is he one of those players for you as well, where if we get the news, again, we're a week early, right? It does not matter right now. But if we get the news that Omarion Hampton's back, good to go, are you starting him right away? Is he one of those players
Oh,
for you?
yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, for sure.
Jacksonville, do you want to? I mean, 6-4, Jacksonville Jaguars. They're sitting second in the AFC South. The Colts were on their bye this past week, so the AFC South sits with the Colts right now at 8-2. But like I said, Jacksonville's sitting at 6-4, and we got a day. Their offense at least woke up. I mean, it wasn't a big Parker Washington day, but Etienne 73 yards. Bayshul Tuten, I hope that he's going to be okay because he also went down with an injury. I want to believe Adam because you know me, I'm going to be the optimistic one here, that maybe he did not go back because of the blowout nature of the game. They just said, you know what, we don't want to risk you actually getting fully injured. So I want to believe that Bayshul Tuten could have gone back in if they needed him to, but he finished and he had a huge impact in that game. 74 yards, like I said. Travis Etienne had 73, but that was a big one for Bayshul Tuten.
Yeah, someone who had ETN, I was very nervous early in this game because I saw a lot of Tuten early and he was running very
Yep.
well. And I was like, oh no. It was still more ETN percentage of snap wise when they were in there together. And I agree with what you said because it was the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And we did see Tuten speak with the media after the game too. And if players have a serious injury, they usually don't talk. But I always say this too: you have to be real careful with these ankles because you could be fine, and then Monday, Tuesday, it swells up. You get to the facility, and it's worse. So it is something to keep an eye on. Again, I thought ETN has run well this year. It's just he had a really difficult schedule. He came through in the end, got those 2 touchdowns. This was kind of an outlier game, though, because Jacksonville ran the ball 47 times, and that's just not going to happen many weeks. You're not going to get that
No.
many opportunities. So they both got at least 15 carries, 15 for Tuten, 19 for ETN. So, yeah, that's not going to happen many weeks. And then, of course, the passing game, Lawrence only completed 14 passes. So they just dominated. But it is something to keep an eye on going forward to see if Tuten gets more involved. He's probably rostered in every league already, or most of them. If not, yeah,
Maybe.
you want to get him. But, yeah, that is something to keep an eye on going forward to see if this is more of a split. Because, yeah, Tuten did look good in this one.
He did. ETN played 55.8% compared to, and this was the first 3 quarters because it took out the fourth quarter with Tuten not in there. And then Tuten, 41.9% is what we're looking at there for the split. So again, and like so to your point, Adam, if you're picking up Bayshul Tuten this week and let's say we get good news, we're saying, all right, let's pick up Bayshul Tuten if he's available. You just have to be a little bit careful because of how many times they just went to the ground game. They finished the fantasy season against the Colts, the Jets, and the Broncos. And I don't know, maybe with the Jets, I don't know if we could see an increased role from Tuten, but they might not be running much in those, like at least 2 of those games with the Colts and the Broncos. So that's just something you have to be a little bit careful of. But it was good.
Yeah,
Good to see him.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the distribution looks like next week, assuming Tuten is good to go and ready. They are in Arizona to play the Cardinals.
And we might not see Joe Burrow after all, or maybe we will, and it's for nothing. It's not. That's not an overreaction. I know that it's an overreaction Monday, but they lost and they continue to lose. So I don't know what they're going to think here, Adam. I know that we heard last week that Joe Burrow said he is back at practice. He wants to be able to play on Thanksgiving. We got a report after that it might be the week after, since that would be a short week. So just be careful if you did pick him up. But man, they continue to lose. And there's nothing that you can really look at here saying, okay, well, perfect. Now we get Joe Burrow back to make this playoff push. It was a bad time for Joe Flacco to have one of the worst games that we've seen him have. And they lost this game to Pittsburgh. I think it was 34-12. So yeah, not good. Good day for Chase Brown. But other than that, and T. Higgins, 15 fantasy points for T. But on the Bengals side, we might not see Joe.
We might not see Jamar Chase next week either.
Yeah,
he
we
might
have
get
to be
suspended.
careful with that. I think they have to suspend him.
Well, okay, so there was an incident with him and Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
Ramsey said that Jamar Chase spit on him. Chase said no, and then there's video that shows. I think he did it. Isn't it pretty clear?
It feels very clear.
Yeah, and apparently there was a report that the league will review that today and might have a decision.
We should know.
So there's a good chance you don't get Jamar Chase next week. And Chase had one of his worst games too. 10 targets, just 3 catches for 30 yards. So it has been very good with Flacco at quarterback, but not in this one. That's for sure.
And the thing, so I've seen people going back and forth saying, well, because it was Jalen Carter that spit on Dak Prescott before. But the thing with that was that he was ejected.
Right.
And then he he got his game check. So his fine was that game check. So essentially with him being, unable to continue playing that game, that was basically the suspension for one game. He gave up the game check. The thing with Jamar Chase is that he was not ejected because of course no one was watching that. There was no reason to be watching Jamar Chase at that time. So that's the reason why we might not see him in week 12 is because he didn't get ejected from that one. He's going to have to serve some kind of suspension with a fine, and it might be the week 12 game for them.
Yeah, so that would that's exactly why is the Carter had happened right at the beginning of the game.
It's like the first did we even start the game yet when that happened? I don't know. That was so weird. How long ago was that too, by the way?
It was week 1.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
It was the first game of the season, the Thursday night game.
There we go. We've had some good drama this season. Well, let's just keep it going here. So just be careful with Jamar Chase. We'll continue talking about throughout the week. And like Adam said, they're reviewing it today. So hopefully we get an answer sooner rather than later. But yeah, we might not be seeing much Joe Burrow the rest of the season with how they've been playing. We've got week 11 winners and losers. We have to talk about Christian McCaffrey, Michael Wilson stepping up for this Arizona Cardinals team as well. We're going to go through those names and more here coming up next. That's the Carolina Panthers after a win, Adam. Because we can't sleep on the Carolina Panthers anymore, right? 30-27 win over the Falcons. The 6-5 Carolina Panthers to you. With Tetairoa McMillan having a big game. I was excited to see Ted have that big game though. Career best, obviously, 33 points on that Falcons defense, catching 8 of 12 targets for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was nice to see. I don't think we get that every single week. Who do they play? We were just talking about this. Monday night? Oh, it's
49ers.
The 49ers. So we'll see. Maybe we get a little Panthers magic there, but there you go. Shout out to Ted McMillan. And Bryce Young, for anyone that started him, because it wasn't Adam.
Yeah, if anyone started him, it had to be super flex, and even then, you never felt good about it, so... Yeah, I could have used those points. I played this guy every damn week because my quarterback stink, and the one week I sit him, he goes off. Naturally. Unbelievable.
That's how it works in fantasy football.
It's all Jackson Dart's fault.
Jackson Dart, please come back to us here. Hey,
I did see a note he's still in concussion protocol.
Is he? I'm a little bit worried about him. I'm a little bit worried about CJ Stroud on the short turnaround.
Yeah, the Stroud one, because it's 2 weeks now, and you could have speculated saying, well, they want to be extra cautious with a Thursday night game. going against the Bills. But I guess we'll probably know pretty quickly. I would
We
say
have
by
to know
today or
by
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow at the very latest to see what he's going to do there. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Christian McCaffrey, because he's here every single week, so I feel like he just has a permanent spot in the winners circle right here. But him and Jonathan Taylor are basically going back and forth for the seasonal fantasy points lead. But Christian McCaffrey had 35.1 fantasy points, and that puts him at 283.9 for the season. Both him and so CMC and who had a great day and really was loving Brock Purdy being back was George Kittle. It was nice to see. I mean, Brock Purdy, for what it's worth, we had a conversation of, okay, if you have him, do you start him? At this point, you probably picked up someone else that you were comfortable starting as well. But I mean, shout out to Brock Purdy in his return for San Francisco. Not only did they get that win, yes, I know it's against the Arizona Cardinals, but still 41-22. Brock Purdy, though, completed 19 of 26 passes for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of those to George Kittle. So, he was happy. And as a George Kittle manager, I was happy as well. So welcome back, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I had Purdy in the league. I did start him after looking through things. So, he was a borderline QB1 to me. We've seen when he has a good amount of weapons and he's healthy, he usually produces for fantasy. And he did come through in this one. And yes, Kittle, definitely a better rapport with Purdy. I know Kittle had the big game last week with Mac Jones. The first 2 were kind of quiet. But this is what you wanted to see. We did see Ricky Pearsall return. He had 1 catch for 0 yards. I'm pretty sure that, he was out there a lot, though. I did see that. He was on the field a lot. I think, you had to be patient with him since he's had a long layoff. So I guess the good news again, he was on the field a lot, and I guess you're hoping that in the next week or 2, if you do have him, that he can get going and put up some fantasy numbers. He did play the most snaps among receivers, tied with Jennings. They both played 41, so that's a good sign at least. I know, so I have Pierce on a couple leagues. I did not start him.
Yeah, he was the one I think we talked about last week where he said, okay, if there was ever like Brock Purdy, yeah, if you have him and you don't have better options, like you just kind of want to say, all right, well, we can start him and feel a little bit better about it. But with Ricky Pearsall, like you said, because he's been out for so long with those injuries, like you want to wait and see what the ramp up looks like. And so hopefully people didn't have to go to him just quite yet, because like you said, it wasn't good. Juwan Jennings finished with, I think, 9.4 in that game, 4 receptions, 54 yards. So you weren't necessarily thrilled about it, but that's been Juwan Jennings really the whole season. You haven't been thrilled about much of it, but that does come down. He had 17 last week, 14 the week prior in week 9. But that's been more of a down season than anything else. So that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, he was getting a good amount of targets the last couple of games, and you wonder how that changes now with Kittle, with Purdy, and also with Pearsall back.
Michael Wilson. If you picked up Michael Wilson from the waiver wire, talk about a waiver wire hero for week 11, because that was phenomenal. Again, Marvin Harrison Jr. was out because he had the emergency appendectomy. And so I don't think we're going to see him this week, to be totally honest with you. The way that they were reporting that at the beginning of when we heard about this last week was that he was definitely out for week 11 and potentially week 12. But to me, Adam, I just feel like you can't come back from that very quickly. And so if you have Michael Wilson, make sure to hang on to him. But he had a day, 33.5 fantasy points in a game where the Cardinals obviously were chasing points because they were trying to get back in this one going up against the 49ers. But he caught 15 of 18 targets for 185 yards. Those are insane numbers. You have to pay attention to him now. And, we never want injuries, but if Marvin Harrison Jr. is out again, you're going to be playing Michael Wilson.
Jacoby Brissett set an NFL record with 47 completions.
Crazy.
How do you feel, though, if you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and you see this before, but you're
Horrible.
like, that could have been him?
It's sad. Yeah, you're like, that could be me. There's a song that says that. That should be me. And that's probably what Marvin Harrison was watching. I don't know if he's home now, but, you're watching that game like, that could have been me. Trey McBride had a big day. Yeah.
I mean, Trey McBride has a big day every single week. I mean, his numbers with Jacoby Brissett are just absurd. It's 6 touchdowns now in 5 games. And just putting up insane numbers. Since Brissett has become starter, 21.2, 29.4, 16.5. I don't know what happened that week. 27.7 and 27.5. It's just money in the bank with Trey McBride and Jacoby Brissett.
I love it. It's just, and it, again, I've said this before, it makes last year not as funny anymore. Like when we were like, oh, only 2 touchdowns. That's crazy. How could that be happening? Maybe that's because he wasn't a big, touchdown guy in college. No, it's wrong. It was Kyler Murray. Unfortunately, that's just what that's what we're coming down to here. 27.5 fantasy points for Trey McBride in this one. And like you said, Jacoby Brissett had record-setting 47 completions in this one. And honestly, the other thing that's even more stunning than that, Trey McBride had a 28.2% target share. It's just, he's automatic every single week. You just hope at this point, Adam, not an overreaction, but you just hope that Kyler Murray doesn't come back. That they just say, you know what, his foot injury is so bad. Because I think now we're 2 games out. So we still are going to be without him for 2 games. I believe I have the timeline correctly. And as any manager of whatever, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, any of them, you just have to say, well, I hope he doesn't come back this year. Because Jacoby Brissett is better with them.
Oh, you definitely. If you have McBride, Harrison, you're like, yeah, Kyler, just heal up, play some video games, get better, and come back next year.
We'll see what happens, but those were definite winners over the weekend. I've got a couple of fantasy losers, though. We need to mention again, and maybe just talk through Caleb Williams and our expectations the rest of the way. Lamar Jackson, that's all you have to say. We're going to go through those coming up here next. You are listening to Fantasy Life right here on an Overreaction Monday, and we appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. If you need a Monday Night Miracle, send them in. We want to read about them and see what you need to win those fantasy matchups today. We got an unfortunate update, though, here, Adam, that we have to break down here, and that is with Michael Penix. So it looks like Adam Schefter just a couple of minutes ago tweeting, Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. suffered a potential season-ending knee injury during their loss to the Carolina Panthers. Penix will be seeking a second opinion, but it is not encouraging. So this obviously is not good for anyone with the Falcons. If you have Michael Penix Jr. and just overall for Michael Penix Jr., you never want to see anyone get banged up and hurt. Kirk Cousins went into this game. That's the one thing that we do know. If Michael Penix Jr. were to miss any time, it would be Kirk Cousins taking over at the quarterback position. He went in there late. I believe it was late in the third quarter, right, is when Penix went down. So you saw him finish things off 6 of 14 for 48 yards. Nothing amazing. He had 1 carry for 2 yards, but just really unfortunate for this whole Falcons team. We also have to pay attention to Drake London. He also went down with an injury, so we'll have to see if he's good to go this week as well. And he had that knee injury late in the game, too, and was ruled out. So a couple of injuries that we have to watch out for, but not good news here for Michael Penix.
No, and it's not good for the Atlanta offense because they have definitely not looked as good with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. So the offense takes a hit. Not good for London. If he is good to go, we have to see the extent of his injury as well. I know they're saying it's not serious, but let's see the medical test first before assuming that.
Seeking a second opinion is never really leading to anything probably good in the news department with an injury. So unfortunate for Michael Penix Jr. We'll watch on that for the rest of the week. And same with Drake London. I think, we're going to talk waiver wire names to know. You downgrade the whole offense if we've got Kirk Cousins, to be totally honest with you. But it was Kendall Hodge that took over in Drake London's role when he left that game. So something to look for. But we've got waiver wire names to know coming up tomorrow. And I've got my article live at fantasylife.com. Adam has his one thing we learned from every game for week 11 live at fantasylife.com too. So make sure to go and read those 100% free over there. So Caleb Williams, that was disappointing. I know that they were able to come back and get that win, but when you look at 10.32 fantasy points, you're disappointed because he had back-to-back weeks of 25 plus fantasy points. So he was started across a lot of leagues. I know I had to start him in one spot as well, but that was very, very disappointing. Again, they're able to win these games. They're not going to apologize for it. They're having one of those seasons, and I think that they can continue to do that at this point, Adam, but you didn't necessarily love what you got from Caleb Williams this weekend.
No, not at all. And to me, he's a clear matchup play. When he goes against inferior defense, he puts up numbers. He goes against the decent defense, he does not. He only has 12 passing touchdowns on the season, or 13. And 7 of them have come against the Cowboys and Bengals.
Crazy. Let me look at they don't have a great playoff schedule. I know I looked at that earlier. So they play it's already November 23rd this weekend.
Yes.
Oh my God. What are we doing? Okay. Anyway, they play the Steelers. That really was a jump scare. Steelers at home. Then they take on the Eagles. Packers, they play twice. Browns, 49ers. But for the fantasy playoffs, it's the Browns, the Packers, the 49ers for those 3 weeks.
It's not good. And
No.
two of those games are at home where weather could be an issue or wind. I I have him in 2 leagues, and I really do not feel good about starting him against some of these matchups.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
tough.
the Eagles, like, how are you playing him at Philly? There's like, and then the Packers twice. It's tough for Caleb Williams, and as he's shown, unless it's a bad defense, he really doesn't put up great fantasy numbers. And they've become a team that wants to rely on the run more.
Yeah.
Giving Swift a big workload, mixing in Kyle Monangai. Yeah, I don't feel good about Caleb Williams going forward.
They've now won 3 straight games by a single score. I know that people ask if it's a fluke, is it sustainable? Right now they're just winning, and like I said, they're not going to apologize for it. So we'll see what they're able to do coming up. You know what time it is though? Time for that Fantasy Life water cooler, going through your names, news and notes that you need to know here coming up next. Oh, it is about that time. Time for the Fantasy Life water cooler right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You know what time it is. Time for us to go through all the news and notes that you need to know from Week 11. Get you caught up on everything before we dive into Week 12. But first, Monday Night Miracles. I know some of you need them for your fantasy squads to get that win. At K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. You can also give us a call, 888-963-2682. Or press that new call-in button on the SiriusXM app, because we are here to answer any and all of your fantasy football questions here. And fantasylife.com, that's where you want to go. If you missed some of the games yesterday, if you were out and about, whatever you were doing, that's okay, because Adam has his article out right now. One thing we learned from every Week 11 game, that is live at fantasylife.com. My waiver wire article is as well. Everything else over there for articles, 100% free. And while you're there, make sure to go and subscribe to our newsletter, fantasylife.com, to go and do that. All right, Adam. Well, this was a quick update for Michael Penix Jr. Bad news here for Penix Jr. We just mentioned that Adam Schefter said that he was seeking other opinions. He doesn't need to do that, because unfortunately, Michael Penix did suffer a season-ending ACL tear to his left knee. Oh no, wait. Never mind. I'm kidding. That was a lie. I'm reading this tweet completely wrong. So he's still getting a second opinion. This was a tweet saying he had season-ending ACL tears in his left knee 2018-2020. That's my bad. We have to read the whole tweet here, Adam. It's a Monday. So we're still waiting for this news. Michael Penix Jr., again, getting a second opinion for this left knee injury. It looks like potentially season ending, but not confirmed yet. So that was my bad. My apologies. But we would get Kirk Cousins in the event that he is not able to go. And it's not looking great so far. So hopefully we get better news. But this could sideline him for the rest of the 2025 season.
Very unfortunate. Things just have not gone well for Atlanta, and they continue to go in a bad way. And if Kirk Cousins is the quarterback going forward, it's a problem for this offense. He's not the same player, doesn't have the arm strength, and we've seen just the yards per play when he's in there, as opposed to Penix. It goes down about 1.5 yards. So not good. Really what you're worried about, though, I guess, is mostly Drake London in the past game. I guess Kyle Pitts to a certain extent. I don't know how many people are relying on Pitts every single week.
Nope, it's fine. We know.
Well, London is the big one to watch, not only because of his injury, of course, with the knee issue, but say he is able to return this week or next week, Penix targets him a lot, and the targets won't be as efficient with Cousins at quarterback. I think Bijan should be fine. They did give him some goal line carries yesterday.
I was going to say 30 fantasy points. Look at that.
2 goal line carries, and then they said, well, we can't leave Tyler Algier completely out, so they gave him one later on, and he did score. And what felt like yesterday, I didn't get the memo, but was it National Backup Running Back Day?
Backup Running Back Day, yeah.
Because they were all scoring early on.
Oh, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was writing that up for the waiver wire article. I said, if you just looked away, first of all, we had a lot of injuries, which we never want. Second of all, it was just, all the backups coming in and being all right. But it was not that for Bijan Robinson. So you were 30 fantasy points back to it. Tyler Algier 9.6, which isn't bad if you had to flex him, but not what you were used to these past couple of weeks. So like you said, if we don't get Michael Penix Jr., that would be a big downgrade with Kirk Cousins. And again, it's not confirmed yet, but this latest injury could sideline him for the rest of the 2025 season per Adam Schefter. So we're waiting to see what this knee injury does look like there. And like you said, Drake London will pay attention to that. I think I wrote up Kaderil Hodge for waivers, Adam, but that I don't know how much we really do downgrade this offense if Kirk Cousins is out there, but he would be next in line to play. After London was unable to go, it was Kaderil Hodge that took over his role. So I don't think he's a top priority, but someone you could pay attention to.
I think it would be really difficult to trust anyone in this offense.
Besides Bijan.
Yeah.
Right?
Besides, and the passing game, if Drake London somehow misses time. I mean, Mooney's been a disappointment this year. He's been dealing with injury.
Yeah. Let's just keep going on the injury front because there was a lot of them yesterday, Adam. So we're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. The initial concern here that I read was that they are concerned that he has a break in his wrist. So for Aaron Rodgers, a slight break potentially in his left non-throwing wrist. This is per Adam Schefter from yesterday as well. He is undergoing further tests today to determine the full extent of the injury and how long he's going to be sidelined. But that's the takeaway that I had here, Adam, is that we know he's going to be sidelined. We know we're not going to see him. Wasn't necessarily someone that we were looking at and saying, I'm plugging him in every single week, but was still a streamer to some people. So this is one where we're watching out for him. And I really need Jaylen Warren to be okay. I'm going to be totally honest with you, Adam. If there's one guy that I really can't have going down right now because of all of my other running back situations, it's Jaylen Warren. We're going to watch for him as well. But those were two big injuries for this team.
So Warren did say I could have returned when they asked him about his injuries. So I wish they would have let him because I had a prop on him that he was going to cash in. Clearly, I didn't get it. So that was brutal because it was a great matchup for him. He went off in the first time he faced the Bengals. And then, of course, Kenneth Gainwell just exploded. And yes, someone started him against me this week.
What?
I'm like, really? Yeah.
Nice.
That's nice. I went against them. What are you rooting against me?
It's good for them. That's crazy.
No, it's not. I mean,
it is.
No, they're playing me. I don't care. I don't want them to have Kenneth Gainwell.
Wow, so you got Kenneth Gainwell, and he dropped 29.5 points on you. That's brutal.
So I am down in that matchup. Let's see, 12.9. He has Max Crosby, and I have Dak and Brandon Aubrey. Should win that, right?
How many points?
Dak better not let me down tonight, man. Against Vegas, come on, Dak, you got to come through.
I need Dak Prescott as well. In a couple of them. I mean, if we're talking about a floor, his floor has been really good, so it should be fine, right?
Well, especially against this defense. I mean, his worst game. So he's had two bad games this year, Philly and Denver. So those are two of the better defenses in the league. So even against the Cardinals, where he wasn't good, this was with 6 points for a pass. He had an 18.4. I'll take that tonight. I mean, I want more, but if he can get me around 20. That should get it done. And then Aubrey hopefully hits a long field goal, and I'll be good to go.
I see a couple of we're going to get to these questions, but I know some Monday Night Miracles do need to happen tonight. And this is an interesting one, too, because like you said, we should get fantasy points, at least from the Dallas Cowboys, your Dallas Cowboys on national television. So what could go wrong, Adam? Nothing.
Oh, nothing. I mean, whenever we expect a high-scoring game, it always happens.
So we're watching out for Aaron Rodgers with this wrist injury. We'll see how much time he needs to miss. They won this game anyway. It was 34-12 over Cincinnati. So we'll watch out for Jaylen Warren as well. Calvin Ridley returned for a few minutes, and unfortunately, he has a season-ending broken fibula, and he suffered that in this loss to the Texans. Hopefully, no one was playing him. We hope for a speedy recovery, but that was brutal, Adam, because this was his first game back. Not good.
Yeah, the questions were I was asked about Ridley. I usually went with someone else. It's the offense, the first game back. It's just unfortunate. Just a brutal season for him. We were hoping that improved quarterback play this year would lead to a better season, and it just didn't happen. So just unfortunate for Ridley. Comes back and gets hurt pretty quickly, so that sucks for him.
Yeah, it's brutal. He signed the 4-year, $92 million contract with them in March 2024. So I'm I don't know if they don't look at maybe releasing him after this season. They'd save $13.7 million against the cap, but that's way ahead in the future. So again, brutal for Calvin Ridley. Another injury that we're definitely paying attention to, though, is Josh Jacobs. We're paying attention to all of them, but this one was pretty big. He's having tests on this knee injury today, probably as we speak right now. So per Adam Schefter, again, all of the tests and x-rays showed that the injured knee is in stable, intact, all good to go. But they want to see how injured it is, what the severity is as well. So we're going to watch out for that today because they play on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers right now 6-3-1, and Minnesota Vikings sit at 4-6. And this would be big if we did not see him this weekend because Emmanuel Wilson was the guy that stepped up. This is sometimes what we talk at him about handcuffs, and you say, okay, Josh Jacobs has been banged up for a good portion of the season. And so we said, hey, if you have him, handcuff him with Emmanuel Wilson just in case he goes down. Hopefully Josh Jacobs is able to play in week 12, but you never know. And Emmanuel Wilson, like I said, he stepped up in this game and he got you some fantasy points. I can't imagine a ton of people were playing him unless they just had to flex someone, but he got you 13.9 fantasy points. You'll take that.
I almost played him
in
my league. Yeah, with no running backs, but I did not. I actually went Bam Knight. And actually he had a 60-yard run for a touchdown called back on a penalty.
I know. And I was saying, how can you get a holding call there? It blows my mind.
He still had a good day, though. He caught a few passes and got in the end zone. But yeah, Emmanuel Wilson would be the guy. He's probably out there in some leagues. In the deep formats, he's not. I know I have him rostered in a few leagues. So I personally think Josh Jacobs should take it easy and rest a few weeks. But yeah, Jacobs has been banged up this year. He's had the calf issue. He's played through it. They just give him so much volume. He's the centerpiece of this offense, and he pretty much scores a touchdown almost every single week. I'm sure he would have scored in this game had he stayed in, but he scored in every game this year except one.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. He's had a touchdown in every game he's played in except week 3 against the Browns. I did take his under rushing yards that week because it was the Browns, and no one really runs on them. But yeah, he would have scored in this game. He had 7 carries, 40 yards before leaving. But yeah, the initial report was, it's not season ending. Whenever you hear that, you're like, wait,
I said the same thing. I was saying, okay, well, that's not great. I mean, that's great news, but I never even thought it was going to be season ending. So once you hear that, you have to kind of think the worst and hope for the best, though, that he is able to come back. But he's been banged up this season. It's not like he's just had this clean 11 weeks of play where we've just said, yeah, he's good every time. I mean,
but it hasn't mattered, though, for fantasy production. But that was. But for me, that's why I was like, every week when you go through your leagues and you're like, okay, I need to cut someone this week to pick someone up. And every week I stare at Wilson. I'm like, I cannot cut this guy. Like, I see Jacobs constantly banged up. At some point, I don't want to be like, oh, I cut Wilson and then Jacobs goes down that week. So I've held on to him and, we'll start him. I mean, he's not Jacobs, not close to that level, but should get the workload there in this offense.
Yeah. Do you think anyone else would step up or do you think that they would give Emmanuel Wilson just the full extent of the workload? I know that I saw a couple questions on AJ Dillon, I think is still our friend.
Dillon's not there.
No, Dillon's not there. I'm sorry. Who am I thinking of? Marshawn Lloyd and Brooks. Marshawn Lloyd is still on IR.
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back this season. Sorry, I got them mixed up. So Marshawn Lloyd was the one that I was asked about. And I said, I don't even know if he's coming back because he is still on IR and we've heard nothing about him. So to me, it would be Emmanuel Wilson as the absolute guy that you want to go and get. But if you're in some of those deeper formats, I understand the question with the idea that they weren't going to give him the full extent of the workload. But the next guy up, again, would be Emmanuel Wilson, then Chris Brooks. And if for whatever reason, Marshawn Lloyd, we ever heard him come off IR, I guess he would be in the conversation. But it's really those two.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to be Wilson. I mean, it was in this game, of course, when you have a whole week to game plan. Maybe Brooks gets involved more, but I would think it's Wilson.
Marshawn Lloyd. I drafted him again.
Oh, I drafted him in best ball.
I've got to stop doing that now. He's proven to me, until he proves us, that he can stay healthy, Adam, I think we have to stop doing that.
I haven't seen any update on him.
Not at all. I haven't either. I have no idea where he is. So we'll have to see, but I would be shocked if we got any news on him this week as well. Like you said here, so those were all the injury updates that I've seen so far. We're going to continue looking through that. FantasyLife.com has you covered as well. We had some, so we saw, let's end on this one. Shedeur Sanders, the debut. Not good. Dylan Gabriel got a concussion. We'll have to watch. That's the last one, actually. We'll have to watch and see if he's able to go through the concussion protocol. We saw Stefanski say after the game that if Gabriel clears the concussion protocol, he will get the start. They play against the Las Vegas Raiders next week in, I think it's in Las Vegas as well. If he's not cleared, then Shedeur Sanders is going to be able to get his first NFL start. Bailey Zappi is on their practice squad, so he would be the backup quarterback. But we didn't get a good view, right, of Shedeur Sanders. It wasn't necessarily amazing. So you'd have to, as much as we've already downgraded this offense, you'd have to downgrade them even more if Shedeur Sanders goes out there for fantasy.
Yeah, I don't see how anyone is playing any Browns receiver right now. I know Jerry Jeudy had a solid game last week, but I have Jeudy in the league. I don't know what. Well, it's at 20 roster spots. That's why I didn't start him.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't start him. I know the tight ends you kind of look at, but it's really difficult. Even Quinshon Judkins, as much volume as he gets, it has not been good lately. If he doesn't score a touchdown, it's a bad game. He's not heavily involved in the passing game. He only has 14 receptions on the season. So we usually say, well, if they're getting the volume, it's good. It's not really the case with Judkins because he had 17 carries for 59 yards. Even last week, okay, he had 24 touches last week. No touchdowns, so it was only 10.5 points. And then you have to worry about the game scripts where they fall behind. Like, this game was competitive. Last week's game was competitive. But you saw the game against New England where they got blown out. He had 12 touches, only 19 rushing yards. Same thing against Pittsburgh where they lost 23-9. He had 12 carries, 36 yards. So he's a talented back. He looks good, but this offense clearly brings him down that, he's a low-end RB2. I thought after seeing the start to the year, he would be higher. I don't see it happening now. This offense is dragging him down.
Yeah, he's really cooled off because I remember it I took him in one draft and it was because it was pure luck, which sometimes happens and you need a little bit of it for fantasy football to win. But I was on the clock when we got that news that he was going to be able to actually come back and play to start the season or, whatever, week 2. And so the past couple of weeks, though, his last big game was against Miami. That was 26.4 fantasy points. That was back in week 7.
And they were up. They won 31-6. Yes. They're not going to have that game script. I mean, I'd have to look at their schedule, but you did say they're playing Vegas next week.
They're playing Vegas next week. That could be one. Then they take on San Francisco. You could get another good one against Tennessee in week 14. And then you start the fantasy playoffs at Chicago. Then you're home against Buffalo, home against Pittsburgh.
The Bills have been pretty bad against the run, but the Bills could be up like 21-0 in the blink of an eye. So
it's cooled off. I mean, 4.7, 10.5, 5.9. You haven't had the 20-point outing since week 7, and you've only had that twice.
And that's with volume. Like he is getting the volume. It's just so if he doesn't find the end zone and the yards per carry too, the last 5 weeks, 3.4, 2.1, 3.4, 3.5. And it's not really his fault. If I'm the opposing defense, I'm like, all right, let's stop Judkins. Let's load up the box. And I don't care who the quarterback is. Come beat us. And it's not happening.
It's a big downgrade for everyone, unfortunately. So we'll see if Dylan Gabriel's able to go through that concussion protocol. We got an update on Drake London here from Ian Rappaport. I read this one carefully. Suffered a PCL sprain, is out this week, potentially more. So man. I know.
Just when one of my teams was all coming together.
No, we can't have nice things.
Now I lose London.
You can't have nice things. You have to remember that. And I caution everyone that if it's like, okay, got to run to the waiver wire. Who's the next man up? Let's see how bad Michael Penix's injury is as well, because the Kirk Cousins thing would downgrade the whole offense. I've mentioned Kadarius Hodge a couple times, but he would be technically, if Darnell Mooney isn't out there, the next guy to step up. Maybe we get a little bit more from Kyle Pitts, but that is just absolutely brutal for this team.
Yeah. And don't they, I think the Rams have their first round pick too.
Ooh, you're testing I can't remember, to be totally honest with you. That's, what's their rest of
they do not have a first round pick this year. Oof. The Rams have it.
They finish off, so they take on New Orleans in week 12. This is the Falcons. So they take on New Orleans at the Jets. So, then they play the Seahawks week 14, week 15 Tampa Bay, week 16 Arizona, week 17 Rams.
Yeah, I remember because I actually picked up their defense this week because of the schedule ahead.
Yeah, it's not bad. For the next 2 weeks, you could stream them.
Maybe. I don't know. Could Cousins have decent games against these? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Saints might become a streaming defense this week against Kirk Cousins.
That might be it. I mean, he didn't look good when we saw him go in there. The Jets, though, I mean, there's some hope, right? It's not good.
Yeah, well, I guess it's going to be Bijan 30 touches, Algier 20.
Tyler Algier. Yeah, we can upgrade those two. How about that? That's what we can say. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Again, we're looking at Drake London. He suffered a PCL sprain, is out for this week, potentially more. We'll see what happens with Michael Penix Jr. We should get those answers today. But just bad news here for the Atlanta Falcons. Let me go through a couple of these, Adam, because I said Monday Night Miracles. What do people need? I've got one here saying need 38 points from CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aubrey. Can I get there?
It's going to be
38's tough.
Yeah. I would say no. I mean, you're going to need CD to score at least 2 touchdowns, catch like 8 passes, over 100 yards.
I know.
Which he can do, I guess. We haven't really seen it, though.
I mean, let's see it tonight. How about tonight?
I'll take it. As someone that has CeeDee Lamb in a couple weeks, I'll take it.
Here's another one from Felix. I need a miracle tonight from Jake Ferguson. I need 20 points from Jake Ferguson. Do I have a shot? Ooh, this one's
I'm going to say no to that one.
Yeah.
We see that Ferguson with Lamb there takes a little bit of a hit, and you would need like 2 touchdowns for sure, because he doesn't pile up a lot of yards.
Definitely.
Like 50 yards is like, with Lamb, is like his ceiling. He can catch 6-7 passes, but you need the touchdowns.
We've got him projected for, this is Jake Ferguson, 34.4 receiving yards and 1 touchdown, I will say, but only 11.3 points. The Xfinity best score, though, could be 17, but that still doesn't get you up to 20. So I'm sorry, Felix. But hopefully we're wrong, and we can say that he did do that coming into tomorrow's show. We're going to continue on. We're going to go through the best around, like Adam said, backup running back edition, because what was going on yesterday with some of these backup running backs? We're going to break that down here coming up next. This is the best around presented by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy Xfinity. Imagine that. We're going backup running back edition here, Adam, because that's what we got in week 11 was just the backups kind of coming in and stealing the show. I know we've talked before a little bit earlier about Sean Tucker for Tampa Bay. And the big question here, so he scored 34 fantasy points and he was the obvious star of the show over the weekend. Now, the one thing with Sean Tucker is he might be actually pretty readily available for a lot of people. Picking him up, you're going to say, okay, this is fantastic. Look at what Sean Tucker did. But we just have to watch and wait for what could be a Bucky Irving return. If Bucky Irving is able to return, obviously to you, right? You have to downgrade everyone. You can't just say, well, I'm going to start Sean Tucker and hope. Maybe this is more of a committee approach as Bucky Irving gets back into the swing of things. That's something that we've talked about as well. But you just kind of, we never want injuries. But if you do pick up Sean Tucker, or if you have him right now, you're kind of saying to yourself, well, Bucky, take an extra week, make sure everything's fine. Because once he does return, you can't be playing Sean Tucker, Rachaad White the same way that we have been over these past couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely cannot. They do have a tough matchup this week against the Rams. They do have a good schedule in the playoffs. And yeah, I could see the Buccaneers saying, all right, we have capable backs. Mm-hmm. We don't want to rush Bucky Irving into a massive role immediately. We could ease him in. Clearly, I think they've been missing him because this was the first time that Tucker really got an opportunity. He got the hot hand. It was a good matchup against Buffalo. And he took advantage of it. So, yeah, you want to add him because if Bucky is out this week, I'll probably play Tucker. Again, it is a tough matchup against the Rams, and you would see Rachaad White involved too. But it's not as simple as, oh, yeah, spend everything on Tucker because he's not going to likely get this workload again if Bucky Irving returns.
I would just say too, if you pick up Sean Tucker and we do get news that Bucky is coming back, hang on to him though, because this fantasy playoff schedule is really nice, Adam, for Tampa Bay. So they start week 15 against the Falcons. They're at home though, Tampa Bay is. Then they're on the road against the Panthers, who have looked better. I'll give them that, but still, it's the Carolina Panthers. So you hope that they can make some magic out of that. Week 17, they're playing the Dolphins on the road. So they're in Miami, but just in case, I mean, we're getting to that point in the season, Adam, where we're starting to see some wear and tear, especially on these running backs. So if you start picking guys up, especially one that we just saw a performance like Sean Tucker, hang on to him if you can. I know that sometimes in those more shallow leagues, you're not able to. You need to get someone that's going to give you fantasy points immediately. But if Bucky Irving does come back and suffers another injury, which we never want to have happen, this is a really nice schedule for them the rest of the way. Or I shouldn't say the rest of the way, because like you said, the Rams are a little bit difficult, but then they take on the Cardinals. They've got the Saints before hitting those fantasy playoffs. So just a note there.
Yeah, this is why you want to have as many backup running backs on your roster as possible. You see a game like this from Sean Tucker. Kenneth Gainwell had a massive week with Jalen Warren leaving early due to injury. You've seen Tyrone Tracy put up some good games with Scadaboo going down. Bam Knight, like all these guys. Bayshul Tuten comes through with a good game. So that's why you want to have these guys, Emmanuel Wilson, because all it takes is one injury, and now a running back goes into a bigger role where you don't see that as often with wide receiver. Yes, Michael Wilson, sure, he had a big week, but running back is about opportunity and getting the touches, and one injury in front of a player can open up a guy that you get in your lineup.
Another one that was one of the best around, had a big day yesterday was, like you just said, Kenneth Gainwell. We're going to have to wait and see, because you said that Jalen Warren reported that he could have come back if he needed to. So that, hey, that's great news as someone that's a Jalen Warren manager. I'd love to hear that. But if you had Kenneth Gainwell and you started him like you did, I don't know.
No, I didn't. No, someone started him against me.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I should have known. I should have known. But 29.5 fantasy points in this game. And it looked really good. It was a dominating game. Yes, it was against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, of course, we take everything with that with a grain of salt. I understand that, but it's next man up mentality at this point when we're just weeks away from the start of the fantasy football playoffs. So Kenneth Gainwell would be the next guy up in this offense if Jalen Warren wasn't good to go. You know what? A flyer on Caleb Johnson. What do you say? In those deeper formats? No, you're not into it.
No.
I just wanted to give someone a little bit of hope, because I don't think Kenneth Gainwell's he was actually the most rostered player that I wrote up for all these backup running backs, which I was surprised about. I thought it would be Sean Tucker more than anyone, but it wasn't. And so Caleb Johnson, the Gainwell and Caleb Johnson were the guys splitting the early down work, and Gainwell played 11 snaps to Johnson's 8. So that's the one thing that I want to say there. But you're right. Caleb Johnson hasn't done anything.
But we did see a game earlier this year where Jalen Warren missed, and Gainwell had 19 carries for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns and 6 catches for 35 yards. And in this game, 7 catches for 81 yards. But again, it appears you never want to believe what players say, and it's an ankle, so it could swell up today, tomorrow, and get worse. But Jalen Warren did say he could have gone back in. So again, we'll just have to wait and see practice this week. They do get the Bears and then the Bills, and the Bills have been terrible against the run. But if you have Jalen Warren, you're hoping that he is fine, because
yes, I am.
He's been getting the workload. They've been saying that, I think the quote from Tomlin was, well, we need to convert more third down so we could get Warren the ball more, something to that extent. Because the volume has been there for Warren lately. It's just the lack of touchdowns. And you figured if there was any game he could score, it probably would have been this one. So it was just unfortunate that he had to leave the game early with that ankle injury.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal. So hoping for good news there. And the other two that I just want to say that ended up being the best around. I know this was last week or on Thursday, but Travion Henderson, we can't forget, he had the career best 32.3 fantasy points in that win the last time we saw. So I just want to say, Ramondre Stevenson, you had an update that he's back at practice?
No, Mike Vrabel said Stevenson and Kayshon Boutte will practice on Wednesday. So I will say this, they are going against the Bengals this week, so nice. Even if Stevenson comes back, I'm still going to play Henderson. I'm very interested to see what the workload distribution will be between them. Again, Stevenson, especially that one goal line touchdown where he scored. I thought that was really encouraging. He broke tackles. He carried the pile into the end zone. I think you needed to see that near the goal line to at least put in the heads of coaches like, okay, well, this guy can run near the goal line. We've seen what he can do catching the ball, but this could be a game too where even if Stevenson's back and they say he's the primary back, you could see both these guys go off against the Bengals.
I hope so. I really hope so, and that's the one thing with what we saw from Travion Henderson and the career best, for fantasy, 32.3 points, had the 93 total yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. Like you just said, Adam, he put it in their minds that, okay, here we go. And we saw him, between the tackles as well, because it was one of those other things that we were seeing him bounce outside a little bit and saying, okay, that's usually what rookies do. But to see him be able to dominate inside there as well was really nice to see. So we'll have to wait. We'll see if Ramondre Stevenson is good to go. I know a lot of people are waiting on that news, but we'll see what's going to happen. But hopefully, at least for Travion Henderson managers, you look at a bit more of a split than Ramondre Stevenson totally dominating the work. We're going to continue on now, though. It is time for Jonathan Von Tobel. We're going through some of the lines that we see tonight and the early lines for Week 12. We're going to break that down with him coming up next. Fantasy Life right here. Adam, by the way, this is Haley Steinfeld. I know you knew that, but that's Josh Allen's wife.
Oh, I know he was married to her, but I didn't know this was her.
This song went triple platinum in my car when it came out. I'll tell you that. It's a good song. Jonathan Von Tobel's. I know Jonathan knew that because Jonathan knows everything. On-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. But Jonathan, you knew that. You knew that was Haley.
I knew it was Haley. I did not know it was that famous. I didn't know it went triple platinum.
In my car specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically from me.
Okay, I was like, wow, that was my look of shock. I was like, yeah, I knew that was a good song, and it's actually a pretty catchy song, but I did not know it went triple platinum.
No,
okay.
Kendall tends to get people in trouble, so like every Friday she tells people to go home early, and Keon Coleman was listening, so he didn't attend the meeting.
Well,
I was gonna say he didn't even go home early. He just didn't show up.
I didn't even know we had that much influence. But yeah, I apologize to Keon Coleman, and I will not be telling people to go home early on Fridays anymore because they take it seriously. So again, Jonathan Von Tobel here with us today, which again, you were just talking about this in the break though. I mean, it was a good weekend of football. How did you like it overall? Because we were talking from the fantasy implications, but it's just been interesting because Adam and I have talked for a lot of these weeks saying we don't see a dominant team in the NFL right now where we just say to ourselves, oh, this team is for sure. They're going on a run. We'll see them at the Super Bowl. Like we just don't feel that. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, I do. And actually, I've been making this point. I've specifically, though, been focusing on the AFC. I just don't think that there is a team in the AFC that is thoroughly dominant, as I keep saying. And, the Chargers are a great example of it, too, because I did include them amongst the 6 teams, just throw them in a hat and pull one out. And if I was like, here's the AFC winner, I think none of you would be like, man, that's a shock. I think every single one of them has some sort of path to winning this conference. I think the NFC is somewhat similar, although I think the overall power rating of the NFC is higher than the AFC. So, for example, you can find some markets just AFC versus NFC for the Super Bowl. And I think the NFC should be favored. But you can find the NFC as an underdog in multiple spots. I believe I would favor, the Rams. The Seahawks deserve a ton of credit for the way that defense played against the Rams yesterday. These powers, even the Eagles defensively look pretty good. I would rate them better than a lot of the teams that would come out of the AFC.
Looking at tonight's game, Dallas and Vegas, any bets that you have that stand out? We're hoping that we get some scoring here, total 50.5. We know the Cowboys' defense has been bad. They did add some pieces since their bye week, but what do you have in tonight's game?
Yeah, we should, right? We have 2 pretty bad defenses. We got a defense of the Raiders that likes to play zone coverage, and Dak's done pretty well against that. Then you've got a team that is 31st, like across the board, and the Cowboys in many different multiple defensive categories. So it's probably going to be like 21-7, right? Because we all expect what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But I as much as I despise this team having working in local media and the way they run things and how they constantly gaslight fans into thinking that everything's okay. I think 3.5 is a little too much. So I took 3.5 with the Raiders. When you're asking a team that is bad defensively to win by margin, even a margin by like 4 or more points, I think you're talking about a tricky territory for Dallas, given the issues that they have. And I think that spins out. Look, I think a guy like Brock Bowers can have a big game. I think Ashton Genty, even with some of those stout defensive tackles up front for Dallas, can have a big game as well. So I like the Raiders to kind of bounce back here after an ugly Thursday night game. They have the rest advantage too. So I think that's really going to help them out here.
Talking with Jonathan Von Tobel, again, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. Jonathan, what about the player prop market here for tonight? Again, Dallas Cowboys are favored in this game on the road going up against the Raiders. For fantasy and for us, we have people sending in their Monday Night Miracles. They need this from CeeDee Lamb. They need this from Dak Prescott. Like you said about the defenses, both aren't very good, so we can hope for good fantasy points in this one. But any player props that you're on for tonight?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I'm eternally online, but the Goofy meme where he sits there and says, I'll F it, do it again. I bet Brock Bowers over his receiving yards against the Broncos, and he did not get there. I'm going to F and do it again. I think that Brock Bowers should be able to get this thing done. He's going to have a high volume of targets. This is obviously a much softer defense that you're going to be able to go against and generate some of these big numbers. And the market's with me. It opened at like 70.5, 71.5. We're upwards of like 74.5, 75.5. I still think you can go over like that 74.5 and have a successful day here. And to this point as well, I find it hard not to at least be tempted by Ashton Genty, or maybe even an Ashton Genty anytime touchdown today, whether it's through the air or on the ground. He should have a successful day here. Like every metric points to this Raiders team that should be able to go after this Cowboys defense. And while they're not like true starters, you do have a couple of defensive tackles that are questionable. So the depth along the defensive line for the Cowboys could be pretty thin once we get to this game tonight. So I think you should have a decent Raiders offensive game. Specifically, I'll say Brock Bowers, but if you wanted like an extra leg out there on a parlay, I wouldn't say no to adding in a Ashton Genty anytime touchdown.
Looking ahead to Week 12, is there anything that stands out immediately that you would want to jump on now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of spots that are interesting. I'll say this, there's quite a few teaser legs for you, too. This week seems like there's going to be some opportunity for you. We will see what happens here with the quarterback position, but as ugly as it would seem, there's a 5.5 out there, if I could speak, for Houston on Thursday night against Buffalo. I would not say no to that. I think one of the things that has stuck out in watching, and by the way, a couple of wide receivers get dinged up for the Bills over the weekend too, so that's going to matter. But there's increasing numbers that if you're a good enough defensive team that can line up man-to-man with Buffalo and force Josh Allen to make these reads while also pressuring him on these third downs, that's when they've struggled the most. And the Texans can do that. We do need better quarterback play. It's weird. The long-necked Davis Mills did nothing against Tennessee, but then leads this ridiculous comeback against Jacksonville. But I do think that they're going to be better this week, and maybe we get a shot that C.J. Stroud's going to be out there. So Houston catching that number. And I got to tell you, catching 7 with New England. I think there's some dirty dogs this week that are pretty tempting. The Patriots deserve a ton of credit for what they've done, but they really have not played many offenses with a pulse. And I think that this is one that's going to test them quite a bit with the skill position talent that the Bengals have. And you're just slowly seeing this market power rating increase on New England. At some point, it's going to be worth selling high, and I think this might be it where they're laying a key number on the road against a Bengals team that's got some upside on offense.
Last one that I want to ask you about, Jonathan, is the Minnesota Vikings at the Green going up against the Green Bay Packers here. I see spreads at 6.5 total. Last time I looked 41.5, but I'm curious what you've seen from Minnesota so far. If you're looking at the Packers saying, you know what, the Vikings are coming off a disappointing home loss to the Bears. J.J. McCarthy's not looking very good, but they were able to be solid limiting Caleb Williams. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Stormy Bonatoni, my co-host, as you know her, Kendall, she makes fun of me all the time. She gets tired of it because I keep asking, where's 9, this alter ego that we learned so much about from J.J. McCarthy? He is not showing up in any way. And it's pretty bad. But on the flip side, we asked the question yesterday, the Stormy said, the Packers tend to play down to their level of competition. And my question was, do they? Maybe that is their level of competition. We constantly see this team struggle in these situations. I think Minnesota is good enough defensively, to your point, every time. And I kept screaming this from the mountaintops. We were on the air yesterday. He's going to have it. McCarthy is going to have a shot here. This defense is good enough. They're going to have the ball with one possession left, and they're going to be able to have an opportunity. And sure enough, that's exactly how it played out. I would lean toward taking 6.5. As much as I don't like this Minnesota team, I think Green Bay has kind of proven to be much more average than we give them credit for.
Awesome, Jonathan. Well, we appreciate you so much for joining us right here, and have a great week. We'll get to catch you next Monday.
Yep. Appreciate it as always, guys. Ken will talk to you later this week.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. There goes Jonathan Von Tobel again, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. You can find him on Money Moves, Countdown to Kickoff, and Live Bet Sunday, the one that he was just talking about, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays over there Pacific time, or Eastern time, excuse me. So make sure you go and check that out. We're going to continue on, Adam. We've got a Monday Night Football preview that we have to do, going through more of your Monday Night Miracles as well. We're going to do that here coming up next. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have Xfinity. All the games all in one place. And here's what you get when you watch sports with Xfinity. It's a nice long list. You get the Sports Zone, every pro football game, and over 1,000 college games, highlights and alerts all in one place. You get that multi-view that I've talked about before, but you can be in up to 4 stadiums at once. Xfinity Fan View, live scores, odds, and stats all in one place and personalized to you and the teams that you love and actually care about. You get the enhanced 4K and you get the voice remote. Just say football. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Monday Night Football. We're not done yet. We get the Dallas Cowboys, of course, on primetime here, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders are at home in this one. And honestly, Adam, probably a lot of people with a lot of players still to play. This is a good back and forth potentially because, we always like to pick on the Dallas Cowboys defense. The Raiders aren't anything to write home about either. Ashton Genty, Javonte Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, Brock Bowers, Jake Ferguson. A lot of people, myself included, playing Dak. Hopefully no one, maybe people are streaming Geno Smith because of this matchup with Dallas, but you might be looking at that as well. I mean, let me start here. What are your expectations in this game for the Las Vegas Raiders? Because that's going to be the least amount of players that we're probably going to be streaming. I know if you're in a tough spot, I got a couple of questions on Tyler Lockett, Trey Tucker, just because of wide receiver injuries, everything else like that. Like I said, you're starting Ashton Genty, you're starting Brock Bowers in this one. But what are your expectations for their wide receivers here without Jacoby Myers for another week?
Yeah, Bowers clearly is number one in the pass game. I know he's coming off a disappointing performance, but we do expect that to rebound here in this matchup. The last game they played, remember, it was a short week. They had an overtime game and had to go to Denver against that defense. So a very tough spot to be in, a divisional game, and it was ugly. So they've had that mini bye. So I expect the offense to be much better considering the matchup as well. They are at home. So expect Bowers to be really good in this one. I think Trey Tucker is the guy you're looking at receiver. I know Lockett, is familiar with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith and all that. I mean, he could probably get you 8 to 10 points in a PPR if you're desperate. But Tucker seems to be the guy that's going to be on the field a lot. And we have seen some good games from him, including that blow-up game early in the season. But, he's someone I think that can get you 10 to 14 points in a PPR. The target should be there. And Genty, obviously, in a good spot. They're finally giving him more volume. They're getting him more involved in the passing game as well.
And in 2 primetime games this season so far, Geno Smith and the Raiders, they're 0-2. They're scoring an average of 8 points with 203 total yards. It's not necessarily great, Adam. Let's just say that. I also forgot that Geno Smith had he got injured in their last game. So you said, the mini bye, whatever else. So you can look at this team and just say, hopefully they're able to at least get some points on the board because this Dallas Cowboys defense is allowing 397.4 yards per game. So maybe they can turn things around here. On the other side, so with Dallas, what are your expectations in this one? Because I will say, over the last, 2 games for this Dallas offense, it's not been necessarily up to the standards that we love. They've got the last 2 games, they're averaging 20.5 points per game. That's compared to 31.7 points per game in their first 7. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, we're happy that he's back and ready to go. Had questions on, can CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens in this game be 2 top 15 receivers? And I still think that that's on, that could be on tap here, Adam. But what are your expectations, first of all, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Dak Prescott with this team?
Yeah, Lamb and Pickens have shown doesn't matter what the matchup is, every single week they go out there and produce. So you were starting those guys regardless. Pickens, I don't know why, but they keep putting his prop total at a lower number. I got it at 64.5, and he's pretty much gone over that in every game this year except 2. And one of the games was week 1 against the Eagles where you saw a lot of Quinyon Mitchell. They had that weather delay and everything. There was no points, I think, after they resumed that game. And then he only had 2 for 57 against the Jets. But he's gone over in every other game, even with CeeDee Lamb back. And, Lamb's going to get his 7-8 receptions for his yards. It's just a matter of how high is the ceiling. Ferguson obviously hasn't been as good with Lamb and Pickens on the field. And is dependent on touchdowns. But I really think you need to see a good game from Dak here because, as you alluded to, the last 2 games have not been good. At Denver, you can understand that. Tough place to play, good defense. The Cardinals game, though, at home, I know the Cardinals had some guys back on defense. on that game, and they got some pressure on Dak, but that was not a good performance. 250, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So I think you need to see a good performance from Dak here, because we were looking at him as like basically an every week start, and now you're like, are we at that level, especially since he's not going to run much?
Yeah.
Because he had a stretch of 4 straight games of at least 3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the wide receivers. Obviously, if you have Pickens, if you have CeeDee Lamb, you're starting him every single time, most of the time. But they are 2 of 7 wide receivers to average 80 plus receiving yards per game this season. So the Dak Prescott's going to lean into them. We've seen that throughout the season, and so fantasy points for Dak, please. That's just what I need in one. Adam, I cannot be eliminated in another guillotine league. I can't be chopped. I refuse to be chopped. So I need that for sure. What about Javonte? Just to finish things off here in the backfield, because we talked about Ashton Genty last time. Like we said, we saw them. They had the week 10 bye. They played against Arizona, 7.3 fantasy points. So that was down from 17.9, 18.8 in week 8 and 7. What are your expectations here for him?
Yeah, you're starting him. He gets the volume every single week. There's no backup running back that cuts into him. And it really comes down to then, if he scores the touchdown, for how high the ceiling is going to be. You do want to see him more involved in the passing game, though. It's got that role's kind of diminished a little bit the last couple of games. So you need to see him get more involved, catch 3-4 passes.
Yeah, only 1 reception in the last 3 games for Javonte Williams. So you hope he gets back on track there. You taking the Cowboys? What could go wrong?
Nothing. Yeah, they're going to win easily, of course.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Good luck tonight on those Monday Night Miracles. Go to fantasylife.com to subscribe to that newsletter. We'll see you same time here tomorrow.